footballer. So hard on this because we had some really good players at Chesterfield, some really I suppose underrated players that spring to mind. Paul Holland was an outstanding footballer, really good midfield player, underrated. Sean Dyche always fancied himself as a creative right back when he first started and sort of morphed into a hard man centre defender. John Howard was an excellent finisher. Kevin Davis obviously went on to be really successful in the Premier League. Played with some great centre forwards. I think the guys at Sport spring to mind. Tony Lorimer was a fantastic centre forward, target man. Reevesy was an outstanding finisher. So a really difficult question. I'm going to go with Marcus Ebden. He'll be really pleased with that. He was a technically gifted sort of midfield player, very smooth. Fancied himself on the ball a little bit. Sometimes I thought he was a bit soft, but he'll be pleased with the best footballer label. So we'll go Marcus Ebden. Biggest joker. Again, we had a great team spirit at Chesterfield. The one that sort of springs out is going to be, I'm going to go with Reevesy. I can hear his daft little voice in the background saying, any good, all the time. He was constantly joking, had a rhyming slang name for everything. Really popular amongst the lads and an excellent player. So we'll go with Reevesy as biggest joker. Most likely to win a wrestling Royal Rumble. Well, we had loads of players who could look after themselves and handle themselves. I can remember when I first started, we had Laurie Madden in the team. We also all used to call him Laurie Madman. He was hard as nails. I remember him playing a game pre-season with studs that were about that thick on a rock hard surface, and it turned out at the end of the game he broke his leg, but he just carried on. So he was absolutely nails, Laurie Madden. So he'd be right up there. Other guys in the frame definitely be Nicky Law. Mark Williams thought he was a bit of an hard man, but actually was soft. I know Willow quite well, so he was pretty soft. Dyche was quite tough, could look after himself. But I think again the one that sticks out it'd have to be Darren Carr. Just think about the 10-man brawl against Plymouth was a real standout. I can also always remember the playoff final when he had a tackle with Phil Stanton in the middle of the pitch right at the beginning of the game, and I can almost feel the ball sort of cowering as they both smacked into each other. Big Daz, he wouldn't say much, but he was nailed. So we'll go with Big Darren Carr. Best dancer, easy one, without a shadow of a doubt, it'd be Julesy. Julesy was an outstanding dancer, and he was one that you wouldn't stand next to when you were in a nightclub because he'd make you look daft. He had all sorts of moves, swivel hips. Definitely Julesy, absolutely no question. Changing room DJ. Well, I heard Tony's Tony Lormer's teammates the other day, and he said Dyche had the best music taste and he was ahead of his time, and I probably have to agree with that. So Dyche would be listening to sort of all the Oasis and the Blur and all sort of he was a bit before his time and far ahead of the rest of us in terms of his music taste. Definitely the worst taste in music would be people like Perks and Kev. They were heavily into some nasty R&B tunes, and there were some poor tunes coming out of that Ghetto Blaster when Perks and Kev Davis got hold of it, but generally Dyche was in charge. So we had a lot of Blur and Oasis. In need of the fashion police. Without doubt, the worst style and the worst dress were actually two players, and I'm going to have to go for a lad called John Narbert, if you can remember John, and Phil Robinson. I can remember a pre-season tour when both of them went out with their jumpers tied around their necks, and they got some real sticks, horrendous dress sense, chinos, jumpers around their neck, tied around their necks. It was definitely a man from CNA. So John Narbert and Phil Robinson. I suppose over a couple of miles it'd be between me and James Lomas, who were the fastest. Round a lap of the pitch it'd probably be Perks. Over 5 yards it'd be undoubtedly Kev. But I suppose I'm going to go for the man who was fastest over the length of the treatment bench, and that was the gaffer. That was John. I can always remember his little trick he had where he put his keys on the edge of the training bench, and then he'd get someone else to shout go, and he'd race you to the end of the training bench and pick up his keys. He was absolutely lightning for a man who I thought was really old at the time. Probably wasn't that old, he's probably younger than I am now. But yeah, I'm going to go with John Duncan because he was so quick at getting the keys from the end of the training bench. So yeah, John Duncan. Who was the messiest? Now, I've got no idea on this question, so I've took it upon myself to replace it with who was the wisest. So if you're going to ask me who the wisest player and who the most sensible player was in that group, it will undoubtedly be Chris Bowman. Myself, John, and Perks and Julesy and Kev got on really, really well with Chris, and he was a sort of father figure, and we always used to call him the wise man. So he's known as Wise Man. So I know the question is who's the messiest, but I don't know, so I've answered who's the wisest, and that'd be Chris Bowman. Teacher's pet. So I think if you had to ask the rest of the lads, they'd have to say it was probably me. John and Kev gave me the opportunity to play for Chesterfield part time. So when I first started, I was also at university. So I'd be at university Monday to Thursday, and then I'd turn up sort of Friday morning, do the set plays, play Saturday and play Tuesday, and train at the university. And John and Kev were good enough to sort of let me do that. I have to say they both really looked after me throughout my time at Chesterfield. So I don't know whether I was getting special treatment, but I always felt like I was, because they were outstanding coaches and outstanding mentors, and still are to me. I've had some, God bless his soul, I've got some great memories of Kev, and I still speak to John regularly, and he's been a big influence. They've both been a big influence on my career. So teacher's pet, I'm going to go with myself. Next one, second to last one, always last to arrive. Not sure. We were always out playing cricket. So myself, Dutch and Jamie Hewitt were always out playing cricket. So we always got there first. In fact, I think I might have missed the question out. I think always first to arrive. The first to arrive would have been us. So we would have all been first to arrive. Myself, Dutch, and Jamie Hewitt, and we'd have a game of cricket. Now this game of cricket went for about 3 years, and we developed like certain rules and little ideas about getting out, and how it was always competitive. We'd always have a great time. Jonathan Howard would join in, Kev Randall would join in, Mitch would join in. So we'd have a little band of cricketers, and we'd always be there playing cricket just before we went out to train. So in answer to the two questions, and I missed the first one out, the first question, who was there first, it'd probably be us. And who was there last, we wouldn't know, because we were always out playing cricket. So I'm afraid I can't answer that one. Worst trainer, again, really difficult to say. We never had any brilliant training facilities. I can remember training at Olmbrook Valley Park. There's some clips in the build up to the Cup Semi Final where it's windy. I can see Andy Leaning and Billy Mercer practicing on goalkeeping in mud with no nets on the goal. The attitude was always good though in training, and the quality of the coaching and quality of the information that was given to the players was always outstanding, and that's an abiding memory. But if I'm going to have to pick up a worst trainer, you might not be able to remember him, but a guy when I first started called Tony Dennis. It was in my first year, I think 1993, he'd been signed from Cambridge. And I'm honestly not sure if he was the worst trainer or he wasn't the worst trainer, but I can remember John giving him stick a lot. And I can remember him saying, "Hey, TD," and he was always saying, TD. So he was always on his case. So again, I'm not sure if this is true, if he was the worst trainer, but I'm going to go for Tony Dennis. Last question, favourite Chesterfield memory. Now I was at Chesterfield 7 years, and I had some unbelievable times there, and I guess my abiding memory of the club and my time there was like the family feel around the club, amongst the players, definitely, but also amongst the supporters and the press. It was a fantastic time for me. Really enjoyed it. So that would be my abiding memory. If you were going to ask me to pick out specific memories, I suppose the obvious one would be the semi-final. But to be honest, I can't really remember much about that game. I'd had a hernia operation 3 weeks before that, and that whole game was a bit of a blur to me. And I've watched it a number of times since and sort of picked up little bits. But to be honest, in terms of abiding memory, it's not that much. I was I was in a blur. I had an infection in me groin, and it was a really tough game to get through. So not really strong in the memory. Other games that sort of really stick out would be the game Walsall away when we went up. When I think Tony got hat-trick. He scored a great goal from 30 yards, turned, swiveled, smacked it in the top corner. That was a brilliant performance and a really, really good game. Other games that year, I can remember the home game against Carlisle when we had to win, I think, to go up automatically. I can remember the disappointment of, I'm not sure if we drew or we lost that game, but we certainly didn't go up. But I can remember the crowd and the disappointment, and I can remember Nicky Law really looking after me after that game and saying, was I all right, and saying, look, we'll get through in the playoffs, and we eventually did. So that would be a big game for me. I can also remember Gillingham away. I can't remember what season it was, but I can remember being absolutely under the cosh for 90 minutes, but Jonathan Howard scoring and us winning 1-0 and everybody laughing in the change room. But like I said, the abiding memory for me at Chesterfield was the family feel, the enjoyment, and the friends. The friends I made, really, the players, and became really close friends, and I'm really close to a lot of them now. Still speak to Willow a lot, speak to Jonathan and Perks, and obviously John Duncan, who I'm really close with. So that's it. Thanks very much. Hope everyone enjoyed that, and hopefully see you all soon. And good luck for next season. Cheers.